So, is Netflix actually getting good movies now? Hi, guys. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome to the studio sessions. My name is Brooke, and every week we talk about movies, why we love movies, what movies we love, and making movies, and why we love making movies. So, here is this week's studio notes. So, three quick key things I want to talk about. The first one is box office is doing really well, and there's a lot of excitement for certain movies coming up that I think have ramped things up a bit. In particular, the biopic Michael is getting a lot of talk, a lot of buzz. People are really, really excited about it. Streaming his music has been growing because of the film coming out. And I think it goes to show that trusted, loved content IP celebrities that were already iconic and celebrities are going to stay valuable. And right now, that is what a lot of studios are leaning into. I don't think that's going anywhere. But I feel like it's shifting how they're doing it, and that's why we're seeing a box office response is they're hitting the things people actually want to see in that area. People love the idea of a Michael Jackson biopic. People love Toy Story. People love Devil Wears Prada. So much of what's being done in that arena has shifted to things that are paying off box office wise. They're doing well. There's excitement, there's talk, and there's stuff people can be planning ahead for to go see in the movies that they're legitimately really, really excited about. And that's really fun. That's really good to see. The other part is, of course, the business is still resetting from the number of things that have happened and the streaming shift. So we're still seeing layoffs happening. We're still seeing less risk taking with projects. And we are still seeing the timeline from theatrical release to digital release getting even shorter. It was very, very quick recently for a few big movies that I think I think it'll be interesting to see long-term impacts of those things, whether that helps or hurts. I feel like it's a toss-up. So we'll see how it goes. But you're continuing to see those things that I feel like are indicative of the business still being in flux, still refiguring themselves out. And I don't know how close to the end of that we are. We'll see. The third item we need to talk about is, of course, more reaction to Warner Brothers and Paramount merging. There's going to continue to be this conversation until this is complete, until we see how this all plays out. But I wanted to recommend staying up to date both with this podcast and some places I like to stay up to date, which is The Town with Matt Bellany. He just did an episode about this that also included some talk about the Michael biopic that might be helpful. He's also done a bunch of other episodes on the Warner Brothers Paramount merger in general, but he did a recent one. And the dailies, which is an email newsletter that goes over things. So just to say, there's a lot happening. There's a lot of reaction happening. Lots of people running campaigns against it and sharing their concerns. And I don't know if this conversation is going to actually end until we see what they actually do after this merger does or does not happen. Because remember, this merger isn't even official. It still has to get through regulators. And that's, I think, going to be months until we see whether it makes it through regulators. So we've got a while. Buckle in, folks. Grab some popcorn. It's going to be a ride. So just to say, reactions are still happening. People are still concerned. And that's how you can stay up to date. I'll keep you guys up to date as things actually start happening with it, whether the regulatory trials happen or the merger becomes complete, or hey, who knows, completely falls apart. Somehow Netflix comes back into it. Somehow somebody else. I don't know. It's been so dramatic up to this point that I feel like I wouldn't be surprised. But that's how you can stay up to date to know what people are saying, because it's an interesting conversation for inside the industry right now. And I do feel like it's relevant for just viewers because this will impact how you watch movies and what movies get made and are available for you to watch. So I feel like we all have an investment in if this has an impact on the industry and where and what we can watch. It's important. So that's how you can stay up to date. And that is this week's studio notes. Okay. This week, I wanted to talk about the Netflix library changes that have happened, that are happening, that I see happening, and I like. Netflix is getting back into their good licensing deals. Like, you remember back in the old days of Netflix, where there weren't Netflix originals. Not that I don't like any of the Netflix originals, but that hadn't started being a thing yet. And you could find the most indie, obscure, random, probably never would have even heard of it if it hadn't been on Netflix movies. That is how I found one of my favorite movies, Elsewhere, no longer on Netflix. Ted Sarandos, Fix This. This is an amazing movie. Can you guys see it? There we go. Elsewhere with Anna Kendrick. It's really good. And I found it randomly scrolling through Netflix. One of the many really good, lesser known indie movies that I found on Netflix. And I loved that. I loved discovering new movies that way. It was really fun. And I found some really good ones. And then they started making originals, and it wasn't horrible. I mean, I don't dislike all of their originals, but I have to say, at the time they started making originals, they were not licensing as much else. And in particular, they had dropped some of the licenses for like the more popular, bigger shows and movies that you would mostly be looking for. They lost the MTV ones and a lot of movies. And so it became a little sad for me, I have to admit. There was a time where there was a lot less to find on Netflix now. But recently, I have been, just over the last year or two, I've seen their library increasing again. They're getting some really good licenses back. We're seeing really good movies back on there. Some like ones that you remember and think of and love. Like just opening the app and they've got Begonia, which is a very new one that I've been wanting to see, and they have it. Also, their true crime ones have been really good. They're true crime documentaries, I have to say. As a true crime fan, yes. Grey's Anatomy, Breaking Bad, like so many good ones are coming back to Netflix. Gilmore Girls. Now I'm just scrolling Netflix. So they've been getting it back. And if you look at the movies, you can tell they've got ones like You've Got Mail and Night at the Museum. And really, really good classic ones that you would enjoy. But they also still now come through with really good indie ones that you may not have even discovered otherwise. This has just been a really hard journey. It's been a long road. It's been a really long road of obstacles and delays, and it's been hard. And I had this experience last night, actually, watching Mass with Jason Isaacs and Ann Dowd and Reed Birney and Martha Plimpton. It was so good. And I hadn't had that experience on Netflix in a while, where I had randomly found a movie. It looked rather interesting, so I gave it a try, and I was super glad I did. And I really liked it. And I was able to find like this hidden gem of a movie that I never would have discovered otherwise. I loved doing that before. I had not had the ability to do that in a long time. So I was very pleasantly surprised and excited when I randomly found this movie. Of course, I love Harry Potter, so very stoked about Jason Isaacs being in something. And the topic seemed really interesting. It's called Mass again. And if you haven't seen it, if you've never heard of it, it's about these two sets of parents coming together to talk. One of their children is the victim of the other. There was a mass casualty event, and the one set of parents is the parents of one of the victims, and the other set of parents is the parents of the perpetrator. And it was emotional. It was obviously heavy, but it was beautifully done. And I think handled the topic really well, had an incredible message of just human processing and forgiveness and, yeah, connection. It was amazing. It was a really good movie. And again, probably not one I would have ever heard of had I not been able to randomly find it on Netflix. And it's one of their recently added. So it just came onto Netflix recently. I have so much hope with that. That was great. I was really excited for that. So it made me think Netflix is getting it a like that for me is a major part of streaming. I like a mixture of both ones that I know and I just want available for whenever I may want to watch them, but also the ability to find really good, maybe not as widely marketed or known ones that I can just discover. And I was happy to be back to being able to have that experience on Netflix. We'll see how it continues, but if you need some recommendations, one, Mass on Netflix, so good. Be ready because it is emotional. but it's really good. Really well done. And also, they have some really good shows like Gilmore Girls, like Better Call Saul, and Breaking Bad, and Grey's Anatomy. And if you like competition shows, they're in the last third of the season of the current season of $1 Million Secret. I really like it. So if you like that type of show, it's a competition show, kind of like they have to figure out who has the money, and whoever ends up with the money at the end is who wins. It's a whole thing. It's really funny and really good. Yeah. So I just wanted to give that recommendation and share that experience because as a movie lover, it made me sad that I didn't feel like I really was getting that experience anymore. Especially because Netflix in particular was like the first place I had that because they were the first streaming, right? And so it had been a while since I felt like I had had that on Netflix. I'd had it a couple of times on some of the other streaming, but not on Netflix. And I feel like Netflix went so far to its originals for a while that I think they're now getting back to their balance of both. And I'm liking it. So I hope you got some good recommendations from there. If you have had that experience of randomly discovering something and finding a hidden gem and you really enjoyed it, let me know what movie it is. I would love for some recommendations. I would love to hear it. I I don't know if this is just me, but I really love that moment of like randomly finding a movie, giving it a chance, and then it turning out to be really good. I mean, of course, you have the opposite experience you can have too, where it could have gone wrong. But when it goes right, it's really fun. So, yeah, I had such a moment finding that movie, and I was so glad that I watched it that it just made me think about how long it had been since I had had that with streaming, that it gave me hope. There is, I think, a beautiful merger to talk about those types of things between the streaming and traditional distribution of movies. Our traditional way of watching movies does not have to mean no streaming at all. And I think there's a good hybrid system. I think there's a coexisting and relationship the two can have that can be just as meaningful, just as impactful if we handle it right. And I think we're at a turning point of how to handle that. And this whole shift in Netflix's licensing gives me hope for that. That maybe there's listening happening. Maybe we really will be able to find that sweet spot where it all works together. And who knows, in 5, 10 years, maybe the streaming wars will be a thing of the past and things will be so settled, we won't even think about it anymore. But while we're on this journey, it's an interesting ride. So I wanted to share that because it gives me hope. And also, I love finding movies. So I loved this movie and I wanted to share it with you guys. It was really good. And yeah, I love sharing a good movie. So that's my thoughts right now. As an avid film lover, I was happy that that was even possible still because I was starting to feel like streaming was kind of killing it. That it started out good and I loved that way, but then it got too big, I feel like, to handle that. And now it seems to be evening out. And that makes me really happy. And I'm glad that there's still those hidden gems you can find that, hey, may even give an opportunity to movies that may not be able to have an opportunity another way. So, yeah. Let me know your thoughts. Am I silly? Or do you see the pattern? I don't know. Did anybody else like miss Netflix's old licensing and is excited it's coming back? Because I have to say it was rough for me for a while, but I'm finding more that I'm liking again. So keep it up, Netflix. And if you have any movie recommendations, any TV show recommendations, I would love to hear them in the comments below. And that is what I'm thinking about for movies this week. I hope you guys enjoy Mass if you watch it. Let me know your thoughts if you do. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye. The Studio Sessions is a Butterfly Entertainment production. You can keep up with all of our podcasts, YouTube videos, films, and other projects on our Instagram page. We are at Butterfly Entertainment Group. Thanks for listening.